Hola. Welcome to Daily Invocation Soul's Check-in, your source of information and inspiration for your healing, attainment, and liberation. Uh-oh, Prasad, I cannot hear you. You're not muted. Is it your internet?
It's
There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Oh,
that's cool. Moment of silence and not communicating. Good now? Perfect. What a lesson. Karunadera and I wanted to invoke Abuelita today. What does Abuelita translate to, Karunadera?
Abuelita is the Spanish word for grandmother. So I've been getting a lot of messages, medicine, and it's all focused right now on grandmother energy. And we love the term abuelita. Growing up as a Spanish speaker, I call both of my grandmothers abuela or abuelita. So I was reflecting on a question that somebody at this community asked me. And I think that you might get a lot out of it too. The question is, what does abuela mean to you? What does it symbolize? What is your relationship with your abuelita? Either or both. What does that bring up in you? And it's a bit of a vulnerable share for me because this is where I am with my healing. And before I get into my relationship with my grandmothers with that question, when my friend asked me that question, and side note, that's why we love transcendation, group transcendation and things of that nature, because it often takes others to get us to another level of understanding because they can see things from the outside, right? And we provide loving support to each other. So two things I realized when he asked me that question is, one, I must be making progress if I am no longer as concerned with the patterns, the toxic patterns and generational trauma that my mother and father gave to me. Now I'm looking beyond mother and father. So that's a reason to celebrate. We see a lot of you forgetting to celebrate. Yes, this is deep, emotional transformation work isn't for the weak-minded. And progress, we often forget about it. So I just want to mention that. And the other thing was, and this is kind of, we'll see where this one goes, but it also led me to realize that I'm very familiar. I can answer that question, what is abuelita, much easier than I can answer what is abuelito, which is grandfather. So the journey is kind of letting me know, okay, maybe that's next eventually. But my maternal grandmother, the words that show up when I think of her, and she to me is the definition I feel more close to when it comes to this question of abuelita. She's benevolent, kind, loving. There's unconditional love and support. I feel into like the backbone. Grandmother to me is very much the backbone of the family. Like in some cultures, you go to grandma's house every Sunday and everyone comes. Or for us in Mexico, we celebrated Christmas and the holidays. Even though her house might be one of the smallest ones in the family, it does not matter because that's where she is. So it's this matriarch. My paternal grandmother, I never quite had a relationship with, not as close. So things that come up around that with this question is cold, distant. And it's only been in this last year that I've been traveling to Mexico more, since we're between Mexico and Costa Rica, to get to know her, my paternal grandmother, and to grow my compassion, grow into my own name. Karuna means compassion, about things she may have endured. There's a lot of secrets with my paternal grandmother. And so a lot of my healing has been kind of focused on the paternal side of my family. And yesterday at Family Constellations, which we also want to share more with you about at a later time. So look out for those videos. But I played someone's grandmother. I mean, it just, when the universe wants you to listen, it will knock you upside the head in any which way possible. I had a tarot card also yesterday after that constellation. And what was it? Grandmother. And apparently, at least in this deck, in this tradition, it was a spider. And I've actually been communing with spiders here quite a bit. And Prasad knows, I didn't tell you this, but he knows how much they freak me out. So again, progress. And I was very surprised to hear that grandmother would have anything to do with a spider. So that gives me a lot to think about too. So it's a soft spot, and it's a beautiful exploration, and there's a nurturance. Some people are very spoiled by grandma or maybe both grandparents. So some of those might be some of the associations. So we just invite you to take a moment and contemplate what that brings up for you.
In this practice of invoking, as you contemplate what that means for you, there's also the Abuelita energy, the grandmother vibe energy. So even separate from your personal experience, there's a sort of collective energy behind the grandmother archetype. Thank you, Karunadara, for bringing up grandfather. Maybe we'll have that in another invocation this week, but we'll take a moment and share. For me, grandmother, two things come up in invoking it. Number one is this psychedelics question. The community I'm with now has a lot of psychedelic ethos, and ayahuasca is generally considered the grandmother, a lot of grandmother energy. I can say from personal experience, sometimes there's the strict, harsh grandmother who's really tough and tough love and taskmaster. And then there's the nurturing, loving, generous grandmother energy with ayahuasca in the jungle, as you know, a root in the jungle. So there's complexity and there's angles to this grandmother energy. And psychedelics aside, I have not given, I don't think, enough props to my maternal grandmother. Interesting, Karunadara and I's mirror. I know nothing about my paternal grandmother, nothing about my paternal, but maternally, a few moments and give a quick shout out to Helen Olson, who left this physical realm in 2014, but the 84 years prior to that, and certainly the 36 years we had together, I give her a lot of credit for the degrees to which I turned out okay. She was more motherly than grandmother to me, with my mother often her addictions. Helen, my grandmother, did a lot of raising and a lot of loving. 3 or 4 months after departing the body, she paid a little subtle visit to me, and it was really amazing. I was in Mexico and Baja, playas de Tijuana and got this sense from her. And she's like, yeah, I'm in heaven. Heaven's real. I'm good. And I was like, that's awesome, Grandma. That's awesome. So thank you, abuelitas. Muchas gracias, abuelitas, abuelita energy.
Hasta luego.